New York Governor Kathy Hochul just started her first full term in office, and she's already pissing off pretty much everyone that voted for her.
When we needed people to get out to vote, I was Team Hochul. She promised us that we were going to have a seat at the table.
Yes, she did.
She put us on the menu.
That's Jimmy Mahoney, the head of the New York Iron Workers. He's yelling what many of Hochul's most loyal supporters are thinking. Here's why. In late December, Hochul nominated a conservative, anti-worker judge to be Chief Justice of New York's highest court. His name is Hector LaSalle, and he may be best known for ruling that corporations can sue union workers for criticizing their bosses. Since the announcement, the president of the New York AFL-CIO called the nomination troubling, and the president of 32BJ SEIU strongly urged the Senate to reject the nomination. Lots of other labor organizations did as well. Together, they represent millions of workers in the state. But the growing opposition to LaSalle's nomination isn't just coming from organized labor. Concerns about his stances on abortion, criminal justice, and more have led to an all-out slugfest in Albany, where the future for working-class New Yorkers hangs in the balance. Here's the backstory. New York is a very blue state, but the Court of Appeals has been led by conservatives for years. Thanks, Andrew Cuomo. Then last summer, the Chief Justice, who's a conservative, resigned over an ethics scandal. Again, she was appointed by Andrew Cuomo. Hochul suddenly had a chance to give pro-worker, pro-choice, pro-democracy judges a majority for the first time in years. The rules dictated that she could choose between 7 different judges, and for months, everyone under the sun urged her to pick a judge who reflected the interests and priorities of working people in New York. And in an interview, Hochul promised to do just that.
I want to get back to that preeminence where we really are setting new decisions that better the lives of New Yorkers.
Then the whole thing took a time out because Hochul was slumping badly in the polls during her re-election fight.
A new poll is revealing a tight race between the two as early voting begins.
Enter the Working Families Party, organized labor, and grassroots organizations who threw down everything they had to save her campaign. Hochul wound up winning by 6 points thanks to working people. After the election, focus returned to the Chief Justice. And the activism continued. A coalition of labor unions, grassroots organizations, legal experts even gave her ratings of each eligible candidate. And as you can probably guess, Hector LaSalle was rated as unacceptable. LaSalle really earned that rating too. He gave one of the state's richest and most powerful people, James Dolan, the right to sue a blue-collar worker for criticizing him. Dolan, who owns the New York Knicks, now bans anyone who talks ill of him from entering Madison Square Garden. That's the guy Hector LaSalle sided with over workers. There have been a lot of other troubling rulings that he's done, including one that protected those deceitful right-wing pregnancy crisis centers, which anti-abortion activists use to scare women out of accessing reproductive care. LaSalle, a former prosecutor, also sided over and over again with conservative jurists in criminal justice cases, running roughshod over defendants' rights to due process. And yet, Hochul went and nominated LaSalle anyway, and soon after, Democrats on the Judiciary Committee began coming out in opposition. And once the deputy majority leader in the Senate condemned LaSalle's nomination, it looked just about doomed. Then Andrea Stewart Cousins, the Democratic majority leader in the Senate, admitted that she didn't see a path forward for the now widely unpopular nominee. And yet, Hochul is still trying to press forward, with support from some conservative Democrats and a lot of Republicans who have naturally been pretty positive about the nomination of a conservative Chief Justice. Because if the nomination goes through, it would cement a conservative majority in the court until 2030. New York is supposed to be a bulwark against authoritarianism and corporate abuse, but our state courts have been controlled by conservatives for far too long. This is the fight not just about one seat, but working class New Yorkers and Americans everywhere. Hochul herself has acknowledged this, writing that, quote, "We are now relying on our state courts more than ever to protect our rights. We need to defend our courts against the Supreme Court's rapid retreat from precedent and continue our march towards progress." Yeah, well, putting Hector LaSalle on the state's highest court would stop that march of progress dead in its tracks and make life harder for working New Yorkers. Governor Hochul must withdraw his nomination and pick a qualified nominee who actually shares the values of the people that put her in office.